Help me welcome Pete Ricketts.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please sit down. I haven't even been sworn in yet, and I really appreciate that, though. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, now, is that sworn in or sworn at? I think the sworn at comes after the sworn in. But again, Kobe, thank you very much for the introduction and for the opportunity to be here and be in front of LIBA once again. You know, I see a lot of familiar faces, and the last time I was here, I was a candidate, and today I have the privilege to be the governor-elect here in Nebraska. And I got to tell you, I'm just as excited today as I was when I jumped into this race August of last year. You know, we have so much opportunity here in Nebraska. We have a great state. You know, if you look at our key industries, agriculture and manufacturing, those are our two largest industries, they're about a third of our economy. The trends are in our favor. You know, I was listening to Ronnie Green at UNL talk several months ago, and he was talking about how by 2050 there will be 2 billion more people on the face of the earth. Because of rising standards of living, we'll have to produce 100% more food. 70% of that will have to come from productivity and innovation. And folks, we sit in the middle of the most productive, innovative country the world's ever seen. We're ideally situated right here in Nebraska for that. You also look at manufacturing. We are outgrowing the rest of the Midwest region when it comes to adding on manufacturing jobs. In fact, last year we added on 1,000 jobs right here in Nebraska. So the trends are in our favor. And what we have to do is put the plans in place to take advantage of it, just like you would for any other business, which you do all every day. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have some headwinds. You know, we've got a federal government with their excessive overregulation of our industries. Too many of our kids and grandkids leave the state to go find job opportunities elsewhere. And while we've made progress over the course of the last few years, we are still a high-tax state. Many of you maybe saw on Fox News how they reported a study that showed that if you looked at overall tax burden, including things such as cell phone taxes and vehicle registration taxes, that Nebraska is third worst behind California and New York. And absolutely the number one issue, as Ann already mentioned, as I was making my way around the state, is property taxes. How do we address property taxes? Nebraskans told me it was the number one concern for them. And so that will be my number one issue as we come into this next legislative session. Some of the ideas I've talked about are putting more money into the Property Tax Credit Relief Fund, putting a cap on how fast those valuations can go up. You know, last year alone, ag land valuations went up almost 30%. And then looking at what we can do with regard to ag land valuations, taking them down from 75% to 65%. And also hit upon one of the other things we have to take a look at, which is those unfunded mandates. The state pushes down to counties and school districts, whether through regulation or services, because as she pointed out, that puts additional burden on property taxes. So those are the things that we have to take a look at as we're looking at how we address property tax reform going forward. But I certainly don't mean that list to be exclusive. Those are the things that I had talked about on the campaign trail, but I am open to working with you and the senators that are unicameral and anybody else who has ideas on how we can address property tax relief here in Nebraska. Because it is one of those fundamental things that we're going to have to focus on. And that's what I'm excited to do, is put together those plans about how we address this so we can grow Nebraska. And as I think about what we have to do, the things really involve four pillars of our economy. We have to grow the economy and improve the job situation, create more and better paying jobs. We have to address taxes. We have to address the regulatory burden we put on our companies. And then we have to strengthen our education system. All those things fall into that category of how we create a place where Nebraska can grow. And what I'm going to do with each and every one of my agency heads is challenge them to say, how do you fit into this overall plan for how we grow Nebraska? How do you fit into the plan to make Nebraska a place where people want to be? Now, when it comes to agency heads, we've got some opportunities. You know, I don't need to go into all the details with regard to our Department of Corrections and some of the issues we've seen there, but clearly we need to create an environment where we've got accountability and excellence, where we have the public has faith that we're going to protect the public safety. And so that's why I'm going to do a national job search to find that director to come into corrections and help us reform that organization. Health and Human Services provides us another opportunity to be able to improve upon the things we've done in the past. I mean, if you think about all the changes that are going on in healthcare, the Affordable Care Act, how companies are reacting to that, changes in technology, it all becomes very disruptive. And again, we've got lots of opportunity in how we can do things better. And again, this is another opportunity for us to find that CEO for HHS to come in and be transformative in how we go about delivering those services. I mean, think about it. HHS takes care of the most vulnerable people we have here in the state. And it's a huge part of our budget. So we have lots of opportunity to do better. And with all the things going on in healthcare, we can't get caught up in a culture that is more concerned about regulations and compliance at the expense of being able to take care of people and remembering that outcomes are the primary reason we have HHS in the first place. So that's why we're going to be doing a national job search for that person as well. But it's not just about correcting or changing or reforming the things we're doing today. It's also about growing. And that's why I'm also going to do a national job search for the Department of Economic Development to find that person who can help us put together those plans for how we grow Nebraska, how we keep our companies here, how we help them grow, and how we attract people from across the country to come here. And so, as I'm sure you've all read in the paper, we're doing things a little differently, trying to bring some business experience to how we run things. You know, if, again, as a business executive, if I had key hires like this to fill, I would go get an executive search firm to help me tap into the largest talent pool possible. And so we're going to do that with these 3 hires. I'm working with the Omaha Chamber Foundation to collect funds to be able to hire these executive search firms, do that national job search, get access to the greatest pool of talent we can, and bring them back here in Nebraska. Gallup is going to help us do an assessment of these candidates, their strengths and weaknesses, like they've been doing for private companies for years. And then I'll hopefully get these candidates by early January. Now, that's an aggressive time frame. The companies I've talked to have said they can do that. Of course, the first casualty of every battle is the plan, so we'll see what they come back with. We're not going to rush to make a bad decision here, but I am being very aggressive because I want to get these folks in place as quickly as possible so we can start making those changes that we want to see. And so that's part of how we're going to start doing things differently in the next administration. And again, that's why I'm so excited to be here today, to be able to tell you about what we're going to be able to do to change some of the things we're doing in state government, how we're going to continue to look at how we can always do better, and how we can ultimately put those plans in place to grow Nebraska, to create more and better paying jobs, keep our kids and grandkids here, and allow Nebraska families to have the future they want and deserve. Because folks, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And so I look forward to working with this organization, organizations across the state, the senators in the unicameral, to create that collaborative effort around that mission of growing Nebraska. And I couldn't be more excited about it. So I look forward to working with you. I hope you all have a great holiday season and are ready to get back to work next January because we got lots of work to do.